Good afternoon, Eli Bailey here. It is Monday, May 12th. Just hopped on and gave you a quick update on the USDA WASD that came out earlier today at 11. We saw the market start out in the green last night and stay into the green into this morning with news coming out over the weekend of the U.S.-China tariff situation cooling off a little bit, with the U.S. cutting the tariffs down to 30% on China and China cutting theirs down to 10%. Coupled with the WASI coming out and being on the more bullish side, we saw beans close in the 18 cents up today on the July, and the November closed at 26 cents up. Diving into the numbers from the report today, we saw bean acreage numbers at 83.5 million acres. Corn acres came in at 95.3 million acres. U.S. carryout 1.415 billion bushel for corn. The estimate was 1.443. Beans was 0.35 billion bushels, with the average trade estimate being 0.369 billion bushels. So a little bit lower on the U.S. side, at least, side of things than what the trade was thinking. For the world, corn came in at 287.29 million tons, with the estimate being 287.07. Beans were at 131.18 million tons, with the estimate being 122.5. So world was a little bit higher than what the trade thought, and the U.S. was a little bit lower. So the real discrepancy came for the 25-26 carryout, where the U.S. they had us at 1.8 billion bushel, with the trade estimating that we'd be at 2.020 billion bushel, with beans being at 0.295 billion bushel, and the estimate being 0.362. For the world, corn was at 277.84 million tons, with the estimate being 297.36. Then with beans, it was 124.33, and the estimate being 126.02. This was the first WASI, the first look at the 25-26 carryout, which is why it was kind of a big deal today to see that number come in that low, and why we probably saw the market react the way it did, especially at the close. We ended up closing up 26 cents on the Nov and 18 on the July. Like I said earlier on the beans, probably the reason why we saw such a large discrepancy between the old crop and the new crop was that carry out for next year being slashed, especially on the corn, with corn closing down a couple cents a day and the new crop actually being up 3. A look at kind of how the demand picture looks for and the production for next year. Look at exports for 24-25, or up 50 to 2.6 billion bushels. 25-26 exports were up 75 million bushels, with total use up 220 million bushels for 24-25, all the way up to 2.675 billion bushels. That'd be for next year. For the beans, the exports were up 25 million bushels to 1.85 million, I should say. The crush stayed steady at 2.420. For beans 25-26 crop year, total use was up 31 million bushels from 24-25, with exports down 35 million bushels to 1.15 million bushels, or billion bushels, I should say. The crush is expected to be a new record of 2.49 billion bushels. For South American production, lastly, there was no changes for Argentina for corn and beans. Corn stayed at 50 million tons, and beans stayed at 49 million tons. Brazil did, however, raise their corn estimate a little bit, up to 130 million tons, with a trade estimate up to 126.96. Then for beans, it came in at 169, with a 169.17 estimate. That's a look at the WASD. With any questions, reach out to anyone on the grain team or at any of our IAS locations. Thanks for watching.